It's crazy how the past few years in terms of games have been nothing but stellar, and 2025 was nothing different. It was a year with some fantastic releases, new IPs, sequels, or continuations of old games that came out years ago and brought back some amazing games and a lot of good stuff along the way. Hello everyone, Kingdom Kid here with my top 10 games of 2025. 2025 was a good year in terms of gaming. You know, the games that came out, a lot of new indies, some new, developers that came out, new IPs, a lot of stuff that everyone's talking about. A lot of people are still talking about some of these games, from sequels to new games, and there's a lot to look forward to in 2026 as well. But this is a video to talk about my top 10 games of 2025. Now, if you're new to watching my top 10s, first of all, thank you for joining. And second, how I do my top 10 games are they have to be games that came out in the year of 2025. I have had to beat the game. I had to have seen credits, roll credits, and such. It had to be a game that came out this year and was not a remake or kind of like a game that came out the previous year but is now available on previous consoles. One of those things was Indiana Jones and The Great Circle. That came out on Xbox at the end of 2024, but it came out for PlayStation and everything else this year. Same with Hellblade 2. That also came out on Xbox last year and then came out on PlayStation this year. So unfortunately, those kinds of games will not make the list. In terms of remakes, games like the Suikoden HD 2D, or it wasn't HD 2D, but the Suikoden remaster that came out early in the year, Final Fantasy Tactics, the Evil East Chronicles, unfortunately, will not make this list, or unfortunately, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remake would not make this list, because those are remakes of games that came out years ago. So this is only going to be a list of games that I played and were new. You're going to see them coming up. And one more thing, this is my list. It's my personal list. I'm not going by any types of scores or anything like that. I'm just going to go by my total enjoyment of these games and why I like them and why they are in their position of where I had them in these top 10. So without further ado, I think it's time we start with my top 10 games of 2025. Number 10, Date Everything. This was actually a very enjoyable game. I loved every second of it. It's beautiful looking. You get these glasses that not only makes you see objects as people, but the glasses themselves are also one of those things that can become people as well. So you just stay in your house and you try to date everything, as the name suggests. So they're called Daviators. You try, you awaken your dateable objects and you talk to them. You help them out through whatever they're going through. And at the end, you're either going to end up dating them, maybe just friends with them, or if you screw up a few times, they're going to hate your guts. And it can go either way. There are some stats along with it as well. You have your smarts, your talents, all that good stuff. And not necessarily, there's nothing locked behind it. It just may so help you with one stat or one helping you get closer to an object or better. And there's so many varieties of it. There's over 100 of these characters to go through. And they're even add some because through some DLC, which are really cool as well. And they're all unique, and they're all interesting concepts. And concepts is a key word there, because you can date your bed, you can date your couch. All your chairs are the same character. All your tables are the same. There's just so many variety. You can date the concept of water. You can date your electricity. You can date your electrical box. It's all over the place, and it's great. Anything that's like sports or gym related is also one character. You can date your holiday decorations. It's just such a cute variety, and all the characters are great. There are some that I wasn't too big of a fan of. Now, even though the game is called Date Everything, you don't necessarily have to date everything in order to, beat the game. There's many ways you can beat the game. You can either just straight up leave. You can realize, which is making these concepts real, which is a very crazy thing. And, existential crises happen through people, but it's honestly a good game, and it's made by a lot of people that were great. It has a lot of the Critical Role people that you are very familiar with. Ray Chase, Robbie Damon, they were kind of developers for this. I remember when this was like kind of announced a while ago. I was like, oh, it sounds like interesting, and then it kind of got delayed a few times, and then it finally came out, and I loved it. I gotta get back into it to try to platinum it, get all the endings where everyone hates me, where I'm friends with everyone, and where everyone loves me, and such. And it's great. It's a fun game. You can easily breeze through it if you know what to do. You can carry over your stats and everything, and it's great. It's a nice little, nice little cozy game if you just want to sit back, relax, and just enjoy yourself. So, Data Everything is my number 10 of top 10 games of 2025. Number 9, The First Berserker Kazan. I actually really like this game. This is a very Souls-like, Neo, Stellar Blade-like game. I say Souls-like, even though it's not really much of a Souls-like, it does feel more Neo-based. With Neo, you get to pick missions, go to your locations, and basically run through areas. That's very similar to this game, where you are a disgraced general who was turned on by your kingdom, and now on the brink of death, you get possessed by a vengeful spirit to help seek revenge on those who wronged you. And of course, the spirit also has its own mission as well. Both voiced by the amazing voice actor Ben Starr, who had a fantastic year this year in terms of voicing so many characters. It's just great. The combat was fun. The story's kind of interesting. I don't want to say it's weak, but it's also one of those stories that's like, it's not really one of the reasons you play this game, but it's still pretty okay. There's kind of a bit of a difficulty curve. This is a Souls-like game in a way. I'd say it's kind of more so, like I said, it's more Neo-like than Dark Souls in a way. It's very similar to, some of those Souls-like games we had before, like Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade, where, when you die, you drop your souls, and then you, go back to pick them up. But that's really the only thing that you lose. And granted, that happens in Dark Souls as well. And, as you fight enemies, you get better armor sometimes, you get better weapons, you get different weapons. The combat changes depending on what your weapon is, if it's a great sword, if it's just a regular sword, with spears, and such a variety. The bosses are quite interesting too, and there's a few of them that really, took me a while to beat and were really annoying. Like, I had such a hard time with this boss, and then the next boss was like, oh, it took me like 3 or 4 attempts. Like, didn't take that long to get through them. And then, of course, the boss after, I'd be like, oh my god, it takes forever. But it was still a fun game. It was quite enjoyable, and I did enjoy my time playing this game because it's a quite fun game. I wish more people kind of, picked it up. I never really saw a lot of people talk about it when it came out, but it's still a fun game. I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed the story for what it was. There are multiple endings to this game, and it kind of all depends on how you do stuff. If you pick up all these items, that helps you unravel the story and the truth behind why you were turned on. So why people were turning against you, and why you were shunned and become a disgraced general. But the characters that you meet in this game are pretty cool too. And this game's just fun. It's a fun time, and I kind of hope a lot of people kind of see more of it. It's a fun game. It's very challenging, but it's also rewarding as well, because once you get a good move sets in, once you know, like, oh, this is how I want to play it, once you get some good armor, you can always repeat levels, which is great because you start from the start of that level, and then you go all the way up to beat the boss of that level, where they could also drop items that help you enhance your equipment, enhance your armors, enhance your weapons, and all your abilities as well, which is pretty good. It's a fun game, and I enjoyed playing it, and I hope more people, like I said, get to play it more because it's a fun game. And that's why it's my number 9 of my top 10 games of 2025. Number 8. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. That game is a mouthful, but it's also quite a fun game. You're playing as Majima. That's right, we finally have a full Majima game. Full is also kind of a little bit of it's technically a full game, but it's also not a full game. This is basically Like a Dragon Gaiden 2, while how The Man Who Erased His Name is Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, that's Gaiden 1, and then later this year we're going to get Dark Tides, which is Gaiden 3, part of the Yakuza Kiwami 3 remake. So, but yes, you're playing as Goro Majima, who wakes up, lost his memories on some island off the shores of Hawaii, and it's a swashbuckling good time. You get to be pirates. You get to, incorporate your Mad Dog style into pirate style. The combat is always fun in this game. The ship combat is really good too. The Coliseum that they included is a bit different than how it was in the other ones. It's all basically ship-based combat, or either you fight with your ship, or then you fight it, with your motley crew that you recruit throughout the games, whether by helping them out with sub-stories or via story, or just finding them out around the world. So yes, you get to explore Hawaii, and that's pretty much it. You don't get to explore Kamurocho, you don't get to explore any Yokohama. It's all a Hawaiian-based area, which is totally fine. It's fun. It's exciting. The story is good. You get to fight Samoa Joe, who is a badass in this game, and it's great. The story is, it's a Yakuza / Like a Dragon story. Those are always pretty top notch with, some hiccups here and there, depending on how you look at them. The sub stories is definitely where it's at in this game as well, with some amazing sub stories with some of the characters that you meet at first, and then they're part of your crew, and then you get more sub stories with them. It's a good time, and I did enjoy this game. Did I like it more than Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who raised his name? Probably not. That game really pulled at my heartstrings. That game was one of my favorite games of 2023. And then, this is a sequel to Infinite Wealth, so of course all the events that happened in Infinite Wealth happened, and then this happens afterwards, and then they kind of have a little bit of a tease about what could happen in the future, either in Yakuza 9 or maybe the next Gaiden game after Dark Tides. You never know. I am somewhat optimistic when it comes to the future of this game. I know with Dark Tides coming out, there's a lot of controversy going on with RGG Studio and Sega and a lot of that stuff, but this game was still fun. I enjoyed it. The voice acting is great, whether you play in English or Japanese. I know a lot of people always cringe whenever they the English, but Matt Mercer as Goro Majima is fantastic. Obviously, Samoa Joe voices his character in this game. It's great, and you just have so many other fantastic characters in here as well, voicing some great characters too. And it's like I said, a swashbuckling good time. I enjoyed every second of playing this game. It's fun. It's enjoyable. If you're a Yakuza fan, you will enjoy this because, it's Goro Majima. He became a fan favorite since Zero, and, he was a fan favorite of mine before Zero, but it's still, ever since Zero, he's definitely risen up higher in the charts, I feel. And this game kind of, shows off his silly side, shows up how serious he can be, and, it's good. And who doesn't love hunting down treasures with a motley crew, and all the side content as well that's a part of it. This is pretty top-notch too, I'd say. It's a really good addition to the Yakuza series, and like I said, I'm very curious to see where they go in the future, how they either expand on what happened here, because there's some hints about we know why and all this stuff, but it's how is this going to play into a future Yakuza game? I guess you have to play for yourself, and obviously play Infinite Wealth before this, and I'd say play all the Yakuza games because they're all great. Every one of them is great. There's not a Yakuza game that's lower than a 7, in my opinion. But I still enjoyed Pirate Yakuza, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Again, that is such a freaking mouthful. But that's why it's my number 8 of my top 10 games of 2025. Number 7, The 100-Line Last Defense Academy. I'm honestly shocked of how low I have this game on the list because I really enjoyed this game. The 100-Line Last Defense Academy is a strategy RPG game where you play as 16 characters and you basically have to defend a school from these invaders, otherwise the world explodes. And you have to do it for 100 days. Sounds easy, right? Well, then you put into account that there's 100 different endings to this game. The brilliant mind of Kodaka and Uchikoshi come together to form this fantastic game that will never be repeated, no matter how long anyone waits. It's going to take years, decades, centuries before someone can either come up with this. And let me tell you, as someone who got all 100 endings, I feel like they did as good as they can. There are some issues with it, though, and we'll get back to that later. Like I said, you're all high school students. You get drafted into a war where you have to preserve humanity. You have to defeat these invaders so that you can reclaim your planet and everyone can live happily ever after, you know, you beat all the invaders. Obviously, you get the power of blood, your hemo-amina, that helps you fight these invaders. And then, of course, there's commanders on the enemy sides that have their own power that they can transform as well. And granted, our transformation is just, you know, summoning weapons. It's nothing too extreme, but it's still fun. The fun of it comes in the combat, where it's very strategy-based. You have to move your units, be like, okay, I only have X amount of movements. Okay, I gotta move here. And then once you do a movement, you can only be limited to move like once again. And of course, you only have a specific number of moves per turn. Once that's up, it's the enemy's turn, and they can go however hard they want to on you and your combatants. And it's fun. The combat is definitely fun, and the stories, yes, I'm saying stories because there's multiple paths, multiple routes that all have different stories. Your one character acting this way, but then if you go this way, they all have that. They all have their own basic, like, oh, this is kind of like their personalities in a way, so you kind of get that. And then as you expand and go through the multiple routes that are in this game, you kind of either expand on them. Some routes get focused more on other characters. Other characters don't get focused so much on this one, but they get a little more focused on this route, and so on and so forth. It's a very fun game. It is a fun game. I'm going to say that right now. But where it kind of starts falling short is eventually you can start skipping combat. It's like, oh, you've done, so you do 100 days. So I'm going to talk a little bit about spoilers here. You have the 0 route. That's your first route. You can't do, no matter what you do, it's always going to be the same here. And then once you do that 100 days, you go all the way back to day 1, day 2, way back to the beginning. And that's where your choices truly start to matter. That's where one decision will open up a branching path to other decisions along the way, and it just goes from there. And that ending that you get after the first 100 days does not even count at the 100 endings. So there's technically 101 endings if you really want to think about it. But this game, those choices, once, and then you get to go through 100 days again. Now, depending on your route, you could be skipping some of those days because of just circumstance. Like, oh, because this thing happened, you skipped 10 days. Oh, something else happened, you skipped more days, and so on and so forth. So you're not going, the good news is you're not going through 100 days, and then once you get the ending there, you know, you just repeat it over. But once you do a combat scenario, you basically get asked like, hey, you kind of already did this fight, even though the characters that did this fight are different than when you did the first time. It's basically still the same kind of enemies and the same, like, you know, the same 3 rounds, the same enemies, the same boss that happens at the end. Do you just want to skip it? And you can hit yes. So eventually, the more you go through it, the more they're like, hey, the combat kind of starts dwindling down. The amount of times you actually have to do fights gets smaller and smaller and smaller as you progress through the game. That could be either a, hey, that's great, that means I can get through all these 100 endings so much quicker. And, you know, the story is kind of helps you stay hooked in a way, but there's also, I want to say, bummer endings, or not really bummer endings, but like bummer routes. I'm like, man, I'm not really feeling this route. But that's also a good thing too. Is like, you know, if you're like, hey, I'm in this route and I'm not liking it, you can straight up at any point you can stop, load up the flowchart, and go to a different spot. You'd be like, oh, what happens if I pick this decision instead? Where's that going to go? Is that going to help me feel better with this decision? Is that going to help me? Maybe I'll like this side of this decision, and so on and so forth. It is a double-edged sword in that way, and I would not recommend trying to go for all 100 endings right away. Like, I started the game and I did not finish the game until I got all 100 endings. It's still a fun game, and this game definitely has a lot of routes and a lot of endings that I really liked, but it also has some routes and endings that I'm like, okay, this is just like whatever. And there's one route that I'm like, you know what, I'm okay with what they did with this route, because when you have to come up with so many endings, you're going to have these kinds of endings, and I'm okay with that. I would hate the fact if someone got that ending as the one there, or that route as like their first route, and it's just, I can see where it goes. And then eventually, as you keep playing through it, you know, it opens up more as like, wait a minute, there was something that was mentioned in this route that's kind of coming back to this. And wait a minute, what's with this? What's with this? The characters get more interesting. The story gets a little more intriguing. So there's positives for that. But again, it just starts falling short. in terms of like combat. It's like, okay, eventually the combat's like, well, the combat's a non-issue. It's like I can just skip it, so there's no really like strategy or anything like that. I know eventually that was something that was added. That was something that was added in an update. They're like, hey, you can skip fights, which is fine. And again, you know, you have like, you know, you have you go on this one path, and you're gonna, you know, have branching paths on this route, which majority of the time routes have up to 4 to 8 endings, somewhere in between 2, or like some routes only have 1 ending, or some routes have 2 endings. So it's a very small routes, but again, you're still going through 100 days, and granted, you're skipping through it. Otherwise, and yes, even though you're not fighting each day, you also have like, you know, it's basically a Danganronpa game where you have free time, you get to hang out with your friends, you get to learn a little bit more about them, you get to give them gifts, you get to have hangout times. It's great. However, unlike in Danganronpa games, there's nothing really, unless you want to like really learn a little bit more about these characters. That's the only thing you're going to get when you do these hangouts. You'll be like, oh, I'm hanging out with you and I'm giving you these gifts, and so that you can tell me more. We're having these bonding moments. Okay, cool. What happens when you max out their bond? Nothing. They don't get a power up. They don't get like a, oh, they'll do more damage now. They'll do, oh, they unlocked a new ability. Nothing to that extent at all, which is something, again, that's like, well, kind of what's the point of trying to hang out with them? I know Steam achievements probably have them, oh, you know, max out all your friends and such like that, but like, other than that, why would you want to, you know, outside of, you know, oh, I want to learn more about this character and such. It's like, what's up with them and such. But it's just, there's no point to doing it if you're not gaining anything out of the end of it, which is kind of a detriment in itself there too. It's like, hey, it'll be fun to know more about this character, but I'm also like, yay, all right, I maxed it out. Bye. There's nothing to it. And of course, you know, there's ways to upgrade your equipment. You get more items that you can use in battle. You know, you upgrade your abilities. There's a point in the game, or you can go out to explore and, you know, pick up resources, pick up items, and that's kind of like where you can start making stuff. That's where you can make the gifts. That's where you can do this stuff, do this and that. You know, and again, there's 2 different kinds of hangouts with your party members. You hang out with them normally, and that's where like, oh, you get a hint as to like what they prefer, and then there's the, hey, I give them a gift events where it's like, hey, you'll learn that they like this gift. Cool. Okay, and then that's it until you get to the next level of their bond event. So then once you get to that bond event, then you have a bond event and such. So this game is very ambitious, very out there. It is a fun game. It is enjoyable game. It can't be one of those games like, oh, I'm going to play this game until I get all 100 endings. No. Play, and even like, I don't know, one of the creators says like, play until you don't need to get all the endings. If you play through the game and you get an ending that you really like, and you're like, hey, I really like that ending, I'm done playing for now. I'll come back to this whenever. That's totally fine. If you find multiple endings, that with me, I found endings like, ooh, I like these endings, but I want a different one. That's like my first playthrough, my first ending, like, oh, that was fine, but what else you got type thing. I was like, okay, what's new? What's this? And then my second ending, I really love that route, and that was probably one of my favorite routes. I had a great time playing this game. Over 100 episodes in a Let's Play. A lot of them were 2 hours as well. Over 2 hours. I think a couple of them were close to 3. And yeah, and then I even did a whole almost 3-hour video of just talking about all the routes, which endings I liked in those routes, which endings I didn't like in those routes. It took a while because I'm like, I don't remember what happened in these endings because it's so long. I kind of wish they had like a recap of them too. But, you know, it's one of those things like, hey, maybe it's something they could add. I don't know what else can really be added in this. And there's a possibility for DLC routes, which I will do, and maybe like, hey, I might enjoy these some more than others. So that might have to be a whole revision of like, hey, I would not make another 3-hour long video to talk about all the endings again. I'll be like, hey, whenever I'm done with the DLC, be like, okay, what did I like? Well, here's the endings I liked in this route. Here's the endings I liked in this route, and so on and so forth. But 100 Line Last Defense Academy, the biggest, most ambitious game that has ever came out ever, is sitting comfortably at number 7 of my top 10 games of 2025. Number 6, Pokemon Legends ZA. As a massive Pokemon fan, I really like this game. as a massive Pokemon Legends game, I really like this game. Honestly, I know a lot of people probably didn't like the fact that, like, oh, it's only contained in one city, but compared to how Legends Arceus was, I preferred this because it actually made the world feel alive. Unlike when Arceus, you go out, it's like, yeah, you could go out and you see wild Pokemon, but it's like the world's not really alive in my opinion. Legends ZA takes place in Lumiose City, part of the Kalos region, Gen 6. And you go around, you join a team of Pokemon trainers that have to help protect the city from rogue Mega Evolution. And then, of course, at night, it turns into battle zones where you compete for the ZA Royale to become the #1 trainer in all of Lumiose. And it's fun. You start at rank Z and make your way all the way up to A. Now, there's a part in the game where it's like, oh, we're just going to jump you from this rank all the way to rank F. It's like, cool, which on one hand, it's like, that's great because it would get tiresome to be like, all right, got to do this. All right, there's, well, in order to become rank Y, all right, rank W, rank X, so on and so forth. So it could be very tedious. And yeah, the story's quite interesting. Like I said, you're part of a team that goes around helping the people of Lumiose City, and of course the Pokemon as well, since there's wild zones that are constructed like, hey, only Pokemon can be in here. Even though, there's a whole urban redevelopment plan, the story gets interesting the further you go along with the rogue Mega Evolution Pokemon, like what's going on, what's with this, why is this happening, and so on and so forth. So the game is fun. Like I said, it takes a lot of inspiration from the Legend Arceus. I mean, not really inspiration, not the right word, but you know what I mean. It actually kind of enhances that in a way where instead of, having 2 types of moves for Pokemon, it's actually 1. And unlike in the combat in Arceus, once you go into a normal fight, your character can't move around. But in Legends ZA, your character can move around and get all over the place, and they still end up getting hit sometimes, which is kind of interesting and kind of funny in a way. And they can also get hit by your own moves, but still could. Cool. And so how the combat works is you have an attack, and the attack's on a cooldown. And once that cooldown's done, you can attack again. And then you can also enhance your abilities. You can give them plus moves, which enhances their ability, does more damage, and so on and so forth at the cost of some of your Mega Gauge. Your Mega Gauge, once that's full, you can Mega Evolve Pokemon that can Mega Evolve. It's a fun little concept, and I actually do like how the combat evolved from here compared to Legends Arceus, and even from, the standard, Pokemon combat from, turn-based. So it's really fun. And like I said, the story's really good. Once you get to the end, it's great. You can then go around, try to catch multiple Pokemon. The alphas are back from Legends Arceus, and you can so on and so forth. So that is where I'm going to say the good stuff. Where the bad stuff kind of comes in, more so comes in through the DLC, the Mega Dimension DLC. Well, don't get me wrong, the story is somewhat interesting. It then gets really tedious and relies a lot of RNG in order to catch some of the new Pokemons. In Mega Dimensions, it's part of, random portals will show up, and in order to go into these portals, you have to make donuts so that Hoopa can use his power, so you can go in, you can catch these Pokemon, and so on and so forth. Now, that's kind of fun in a way, but when you're trying to catch specific Pokemon, there are still a handful of Pokemon that I have not seen yet because I've just never had a portal open up with them. That's where it gets really bad. It gets a little easier. This is probably the best Pokemon game to shiny hunt, which is pretty cool in a way, but also it's like, well, it has so many other issues here and there, especially with the RNG, and of course you have to, build up points in order to make these special gates appear that may have, could have more interesting Pokemon, or, like I had for my first 3, were like, oh, these are just battle gates, so go in there and fight Pokemon that are go in there and fight trainers with Pokemon at level 200. And it's like, what? But yeah, this is probably the best way to get some old mythical Pokemon, Marshadow, Volcarona, all those kinds of Pokemon that were distributed via old cards from GameStop, or you have to download this code or put in this specific code for stuff too. It's fun. I'm not going to harp it too much because of the DLC. The DLC is just kind of where a lot of the problems show up. But without the DLC, it's still a fun game. You can go in there, you can battle, you can even quickly advance it to day and night, depending on how you're feeling. And, you know, you can catch Pokemon. The Pokemon they have in this game are fantastic. I love the new Mega Evolutions that were shown in both the base game and the DLC. And, yeah, it's fun. I don't know if they're going to have any more DLC for this with Pokemon Day coming up shortly. I highly doubt it. Pokemon's not really one of those games that get multiple DLCs, or it's something that's like, hey, like what they did with the Isle of Armor and, of course, the Blueberry Academy and Kitatami region for Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. They kind of told you, like, oh, there's going to be 2 parts to these DLCs. This one only had, like, a 1-part DLC, which they announced before the game released, but that's another thing for another story. So I don't think there's going to be any more DLC to this. If there is, I'll probably check it out. But either way, Pokemon Legends ZA was still a fun game. Even though a lot of the negatives, for me personally, came from the DLC, there was still, you know, probably some stuff here and there. I will say this is probably the best game, too, to, like, have the most customization for your character as well. Which I still don't know why my character was in Lumiose to begin with. They never explained that, but what do I know? But yeah, still a fun game, and I highly recommend this game if you are at all a Pokemon fan. And hell, it's a pretty good starting point to come back in if you haven't played Pokemon in a while. So with that is why Pokemon Legends ZA is my number 6 of my top 10 games of 2025. Number 5, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Kind of the first exclusive Switch 2 game. Obviously, we had Mario Kart World as well, but like the Donkey Kong Bonanza game, I think just really made it a system seller in general for the Switch 2. Donkey Kong Bonanza was the first platforming Donkey Kong game in a while. Definitely a lot of work from the people who made Mario Odyssey, which was also a system seller for the Switch 1. And it's great. You know, it's very colorful. The story is actually quite interesting. The music that plays in this game has some great tracks as well. It's more so during the Bonanzas, which is where Donkey Kong gets powered up with the help of your companion, Pauline, when she sings a song to, like, you know, power up Donkey Kong to either become Kong Bonanza, Zebra Bonanza, or so many other Bonanzas out there. And the music that play during those games is fantastic, or during those segments is great. The combat, you know, it's very, you know, punching, kicking, doing all that stuff. Very typical, you know, combat for Donkey Kong, and the exploration's really great. The worlds in this are beautiful. It's colorful. You know, you're going through the core of the world to, like, you know, fulfill a wish. That's basically the story right there. And of course, you have some evil monkeys along the way as well, which are all really great characters that we will probably never see again, unfortunately, because that's just how they roll. But still, this is a fun game. I did enjoy it for, you know, a lot of it. There was fun, you know, it's just fun just going around. You're just monkeying around. You're, you know, exploring through these areas. You're finding fossils. You're just finding random bananas. Like, oh, I'm digging down through this thing. The destruction that you can cause with the bonanzas are always fun. And that's one of the things I love about this game is like, oh, I just start a bonanza and I just start tearing away a place and just find some random stuff that I never found before. Like, oh, there's a fossil, there's the banana, there's all this, there's that. It's great. The exploration's fun. I enjoyed, you know, the colorfulness. Everything about this was fun. It's enjoyable. Kind of similar to Pokemon Legends ZA, this game had DLC as well, and I didn't buy it, but like, oh, to me, there's no point to buy that DLC. It doesn't really do anything. It has a roguelike thing to it, which does look pretty fun, but it's like, I'm not, you know, paying for that. That's the only thing it really adds is like, okay, it's roguelike. Here's a new area that's all roguelike, and then you can also go to some of the old areas and do roguelike as well, which is like, I'm good. I don't need that. But Donkey Kong Bonanza is definitely a fun game, and, you know, it's always fun with Donkey Kong. But it's just, this game did have me tearing up. This game had me cry at the end because, you know, it was very bittersweet how it ended, and everything about this game, you know, just seeing the bond between Donkey Kong and Pauline, you know, evolve throughout the game as well. And just everything about this game was fun, entertaining. I loved it. It's great. I highly recommend this if you have a Switch 2. And hey, if you're on the fence about a Switch 2, I probably would buy one soon because those prices are just unfortunately only going to get higher. But Donkey Kong Bonanza is definitely worth playing it as well, and definitely worth getting a Switch 2 for because it's a fun, fantastic game, and anyone who plays it will have blast. You can play it with your kids, you can play it on your own, and you'll all get enjoyment from it as well. I definitely need to get back in there and get all the rest of the bananas that I didn't have, so. But it's a fun game, it's an enjoyable game, and that is why it's my number 5 of my top 10 games of 2025. 2025. Number 4, Dispatch. This game was charming as all hell, and it was a fantastic game to play. Very similar to the Telltale games of old, The Walking Dead, Tales from the Borderlands, Wolf Among Us, so much. And it's made by the people who used to make those games alongside with the help of Critical Role and some other of those notable voice actors that are part of that as well. I mean, notable voice actor, we have Aaron Paul voicing the main character. It's about heroes and people sending heroes out. There's so many heroes and so many distress calls that happen, but how do they all decide where to go? Well, that's where the SDN, the Superhero Dispatch Network, comes in to dispatch heroes out and about to be like, hey, you, hero, go do this thing and go do that thing. Robert, as an hero who can no longer be a hero because of story reasons, I don't really want to get too much into the story, but he now becomes a dispatcher for the Z Team, part of the Phoenix program, where they have ex-villains want to be rehabilitated as heroes. And as you progress through the game, you get to learn more about these characters, you develop a bond with them, and it just becomes great overall. And how it all ends depends on your choices. Your choices matter in this game, how you are to some characters, some to other characters. It all boils down to that and depends on what you get at the end. And you're dispatching. In terms of gameplay, there is gameplay to this. It's a lot of a very motion action visual novel, basically. You're playing a visual novel, and your gameplay is just choices, which isn't bad. And then, of course, there are some quick time events as well sometimes. But the main gameplay is the dispatching, which is very fun. You get these calls that pop up, and you're like, all right, who is like, oh, hey, I have this thing happening. Please send help. And you're like, okay, who do I send out here? The heroes that you choose from all have, they all have better stats. Like, oh, this one has quick speed. This one has good durability. This one is very heavy in combat. This one has good charisma. This one has good intellect. Let's see. This calls for someone with high speed. So I'm going to send this character out. And of course, some missions you are allowed to send more than one character. So you can always send more than one character. But then you have to realize you won't be able to use them for a while because they have to go do their mission. The mission is timed, It counts down, and then it gets evaluated. You have to check the evaluations as well, and they come back, and then they're on a little bit of a rest, so they can't be used until they're all fully rest like that. You do get some power-ups that are like, hey, I need you right now, so as soon as they get back to the station, I'm giving you this coffee, so you're ready to go for the next mission. And of course, those are also timed. They're timed as well. So it's like, hey, here's this situation that pops up, and you got a little timer just going around. Like, hey, you got to send someone before this disappears, or, you miss your call, and that will affect your evaluation at the end of the shift. And it's great. And of course, they could also run into trouble during those shifts as well. So you got to intervene, and then you got to pick the right thing. There's also some hacking mini games that happen in here as well, where you got to go around and be like, oh, I got to hack. Got to open up this passcode so that they can open up this door, or to delete these files, or hey, check out the cameras that, see how they're doing and such. So the gameplay for this is really fun. I kind of hope that they implement some kind of a endless mode for that stuff. You'd be like, hey, we get heroes, more and so and more so. And of course, the heroes get experience, and when they level up, you can pick hey, I'm going to put a point in movement for this character, or I'm going to put a point in durability or combat or intellect or charisma for this hero as well. It's really fun. The game is great. The game is charming. There are multiple endings, kind of, in a way. There's kind of only 2 endings, but then one ending or both endings can also branch out to other endings. But there's only 4 endings if you really think about it. But of course, they can also be sub-endings as well. And of course, much like a lot of the Telltale games, at the end of each episode, you'll get a bit of hey, you and 84% of players picked this option for this choice. You and 67% of players picked this, and so on and so forth. And then it also has hey, you sent this hero out the most, and out of all the calls you had, they were all success, and you picked the perfect hero for this many calls, and you did better than 90% of the players, which that one still makes no sense to me if I'm being completely honest, but it's charming. The art style is great. The dialogue, the writing in this game is fantastic. It's fantastic all around. The little bit of the music that's in here as well is great. Just, they really hit a home run with this game. I remember when it first got announced at the Game Awards of 2024, I was like, ooh, I can't wait for it. And then it came out, episodic. They had 2 episodes come out, and then every week they had another 2, and then so on and so forth until all 8 episodes were out. And it's great. And this game's coming out for the Switch and Switch 2 pretty soon, so if you have not played it, pick it up now. I am very interested to see how this will work on mouse mode for Switch 2, because I feel like that really helps a lot more. And of course, if you're on Steam, you get that, but I'm very curious to see how this will play on Switch 2 with the mouse mode, because the dispatching would be a lot easier with a mouse and a cursor, so you can move the cursor up to where you want it and such, rather than on a controller you have to I'm hitting up, I'm hitting left, I'm hitting right, and going to that thing. But it's still fun overall. Dispatch is a great game. I can't wait to see what they do next. I know a lot of people want Season 2. How they do a Season 2, and they can go multiple ways. They can continue on with this group here. They can do a different group with some cameos and such. But either way, I'm very looking forward to whatever they do next, because this is a fantastic indie game, and it's a really fun game. And that's why Dispatch is number 4 of my top 10 games of 2025. Number 3, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. I loved the first game, and this game just expanded on it and fixed a lot of things that I didn't like about the first game, and it's wonderful. It is Walking Simulator 101. It is Amazon Delivery Person 101. It's Mailman Delivery 101. It's fantastic. Call it what you want. I call it a great game. Kojima really outdid himself as well. The story for this, I know a lot of people might be like, it's cheesy, it's corny, but I still enjoyed it. It got me tearing up so much with the story of this game. Very similar to the first game, and I loved it every second I was playing it. Obviously, very similar to the first game. You pick deliveries, you're expanding, you're going to Australia this time, you got a little bit of Mexico, and yeah, it's fun. You're connecting the world. Should we have connected at all? Is kind of a theme going on here. The worlds are experiencing earthquakes, and well, it's because of the chiral network and why we hooked up. There's also it's a good with the bad. It's it's a good that we hooked up, so we can communicate more with people, and that's what this game's about, is connections from one way or another. We're trying to reestablish the connections that the old world used to have, and trying not to have all the bad stuff that came with it. But unfortunately, some bad stuff is happening as well. And of course, you got your guys that don't want the world to connect again. You got I have a meaning about this and all that stuff. It's very interesting. It had me gripped, and I hope it has you gripped too. It does take a while to pick up, I'll be honest, some of the main stuff, but once you get to that point, there was a point for me, I'm things are starting to get interesting now. And that's where it hooked me. Granted, I can't explain why I like the first game. I really can't. I cannot explain why I love the first game. It was my favorite game of 2020 or 2019, whenever that game came out. That was my number 1 game of that year. And this one is number 3, which is crazy. Which goes to show how great this game is, and how great all the other games that came out this year as well was. Because it's a fantastic game. Norman Reedus is back. You have the person who played Fragile is back. A lot of, people from the first game are back, which is great, because those were fantastic characters, and we learn more about them. And the new characters they introduced as well are fantastic too. And it's great. You're going around exploring the continent, exploring the world, connecting the world, reconnecting the world, delivering necessities to people from this location and that location. It's fun. They expanded, they improved upon it. They improved your evaluation. You're not really evaluated on time anymore like you were in the first game. You weren't evaluated by, obviously you're still evaluated by, some missions you're hey, try to do this within the time limit, which is fine, but unlike this one, the evaluations for your packages are done much differently and much more easily doable. And the first game's fine too, but those were straight up oh, hey, if you don't do this delivery within 5 minutes, you're not going to get full marks. But this one's take how long as you want. That's what I was always doing, is hey, I'm going from this location, let me pick up all these deliveries that they have, put them in my truck, drive to this next location that I have some deliveries for, pick up their drop off their deliveries, pick up deliveries for places that I'm already going or places that I will be going. So, and I'm not going to get penalized because I'm taking so long. It's fun. It's great. The music the ambiance music that plays here is fantastic as well. It's very similar to, the Death Stranding one, but it's still a great game. Norman Reedus and the Funky Fetus 2 Electric Boogaloo is great. Death Stranding 2 is great, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't know what the future of this series is going to hold with how the game ended, without getting into spoilers, but it's a fantastic game, and they could go into multiple avenues with it if they really want to. I know there's books, there's visual novels, I believe. There's a movie coming out, but I think the movie's only really going to cover the first game, so it's not too big of a deal. But I don't know. Whatever they're doing with Death Stranding, I'm all for it because, again, I can't explain it. I really loved the first game, and I really love this game too because Death Stranding 2 is a fun, relaxing game. If I just hey, I just want to relax, maybe play some game that's not too hard hitting, and of course they even improved the combat. You don't have to do you're forced to do combat in story, but you don't have to do combat in some of the deliveries. But they improved on the combat. All your weapons you start off with weapons that will put your enemies to sleep, not kill them. So they improved on the combat in so many ways. The sneaking is also, I feel like, much better too. The way that you observe the enemies, the way that you're able to go about stealth is so much improved upon too. So they took what I liked about Death Stranding 1 and improved upon everything about it. The exploration, the deliveries, the combat. They improved upon it so much in Death Stranding 2, and I really do enjoy that so much. And the story is also really good too. And like I said, the characters are great from the first one, and all the new ones I really love too. And this game's fun. I really liked it. If you enjoyed this first game, please give this one a try. And even if you didn't enjoy this first game, I still recommend playing this game because it's fun. It's only available on PlayStation 5 for now. I'm sure it will get a Steam PC port at sometime this year. But either way, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is my number 3 of my top 10 games of 2025. Number 2, Digimon Story Time Stranger. Oh, this game. I can't remember when it was announced. I think it was announced early 2025 or late 2024. And it came out this year, and it was a grand slam. Not only did this game improve on so much from the past Digimon Story games, but it also has caused people to come to the Digimon games. I know a lot of people oh, yay, if you're disgruntled with Pokemon, check out Digimon. It's much better. And that was kind of one of the things too, but it's this game doesn't need that. This game's great. It has a gripping story that grips you right away. Obviously, it has all the wonderful, beautiful Digimon in there as well. It expands upon them. It has a higher roster than the past 2 games, even though there are some Digimon that were in those games that aren't in this game, but I digress. It's still great. And with the DLC, they're even adding more, which is great because this game's fantastic. The story is phenomenal. Compared to the other 2 Digimon Story games, this one has the best story. And they even improved on the combat as well, which is crazy because the combat in the other 2 games are great too. And then, how they improved upon the combat in here is fantastic. You have your rock, paper, scissors of your virus, vaccine, and data, and how that works. And then of course they add free type, and they have another style as well, so it's they add on that. And of course you have your elementals, be if you have a virus fire, they're weak to vaccine ice or vaccine earth type moves. So stuff like that is great. The story, like I said, grips you right away. It gripped me right away. The demo, the stuff that they have in the demo will grip you. You play through that demo. If you're a little on the fence about it before buying the full game, you play the demo, you will be hooked right away, and you will be I gotta see more. I gotta see no more. I gotta see where the story goes from that point. And it's great. The way the Digimon are implemented here are so much better too than they were in the other games. Not to say that they weren't bad in those other games, but it's great. Not only that, but this is also the first Digimon Story game to have English voice acting. The other 2, Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, were only Japanese voice, which is fine. And then, of course, you had Digimon Survival was also only Japanese voice. And then we had Digimon World Next Order, which was, had a dub, which was pretty okay. But, that Digimon World was played differently, and obviously Digimon Survive was played differently as well, but the Digimon story is, turn-based RPG. You get to decide on how your Digimon fight and such. And of course, you can hold on to, obviously you only have 6 Digimon that you can put into battle, but then you can always move them in your box. You have your box readily available for you with all your other Digimon there, and they all get some experience as well. So it's like, hey, I don't want this Digimon in here right now. This Digimon will be a better situation for this situation where I'm at. It's like, oh, swap this one, put that one in, take this one out, put that one in, move this one around, do that. And the evolution process is also better. Unlike with Digimon Story, Hacker's Memory, and Cyber Sleuth, I think you have to be at a specific level for a Digimon to evolve. With this one, you just need to have your agent rank at a specific level, and then of course the Digimon has to have it needs to have a 800 attack. It needs to have 1,282. It's nothing like that crazy of a number of HP or something. So it has to have something along those lines, and then you can evolve them. So the evolution process is a little easier. The de-evolution process is easier as well. It's basically like, hey, if it's a Digimon you've seen, or if it's a Digimon with the same personality as this, then you can de-digivolve them. So it's one of those things it's really good. So they streamline that a little bit easier. The one thing I would say that's a little something that I wish they could implement it in is when you put Digimon into the farm, and like, oh, I need to boost its Digimon attack. So, you give them their attack, you give them the thing that's like, oh, it'll take 30 minutes for their attack training thing to go, but if you want to do it right away, you pay money. Nothing wrong with that. I just wish you could evolve your Digimon in the farm. You can't do that in this game. You have to, they finish their thing, then you have to bring them back into your party, and then you have to find them through your party and be like, okay, what did I want to evolve them? Oh, I wanted to evolve them to this. Okay, what do they need? Oh, they still need 800 more, or they need 80 more points in attack before they can evolve. Okay, cool. Now you can either grind them up because they will get some, stats leveling up, or you can just pull them back in the farm and give them the thing again. And it's one of those things, again, you can spend money to have it go instant, but it's still fun sometimes to just wait. The exploration through the digital world that you go through here, even the real world, and all the other side stuff in this is fantastic. They really did improve upon it, and it's great. And I'm loving the DLCs that they just have. They just released the second DLC, and I can't wait to see where the third DLC goes, and I can't wait to see what they do more in the future of Digimon games. Obviously, I hope they continue on with the story concepts, but I wouldn't mind them going back to Digimon World concept, or even Digimon Survive. I love Digimon Survive when that came out. It had a good story. It had great, that had a great art style as well. It was really good, but Digimon Story is definitely, I feel like, their bread and butter right now, but they can also expand upon too. And it's one of those things where they're like, hey, they'll have some elements of the Digimon Story in these games, but that's not the main focus. But Digimon Story, Time Stranger, Cyber Sleuth, not Cyber Sleuth, Time Stranger, is a fantastic game. Any other year, this probably would have been my number 1 game of 2025, but because of what number 1 is, this is my number 2 of top 10 games of 2025. Number 1, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. You just knew this was going to be my number 1 game. This game, as soon as it came out, you were like, all right, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And the good news is, majority of people loved it because it's fantastic. The story grips you right away. The characters grip you right away. The combat grips you. It's all around. Mwah. And the music. If this game did not win Best Soundtrack at the Game Awards, it would have been Injustice. Boycott. Destroy. Burn it down. Riots would have been in the streets because this had a fantastic soundtrack. This was a fantastic game from start to finish, and it grips you right away within the first hour. It sets the tone. It sets the seriousness for where this game is going. You are on a countdown timer. Every year, this paintress paints a number, and everyone who is of that year or older will gommage, disappear, die, go away. So every year, they send expeditioners out to try and kill the paintress, to stop this cycle of death, and to bring an end to the gommage so that people can live. It gets so serious. It gets to a point where characters are like, I don't see a reason why I should bring children into this world if this is going to keep going on. It's great because, like, I don't want to bring children into this world and I'm going to leave them, or, like, even if I don't join the expedition and if they fail, well, I'm still going to leave them. So it becomes such a serious thing. It affects all these characters, like, and then you have people that are like, hey, fuck it, we're gonna disappear in like a few hours. Let's just go out with a bang, literally. And it's very beautiful. The music helps out so well in setting the tone, in the combat, in the areas, just looking at everything when you're exploring this world. It's fantastic. Voice acting is great. Ben Starr is in here. Like I said, he knocks it out of the park in everything he did this year. Jennifer English is in here. Charlie Cox of Daredevil fame is in here, which he even's like, I don't understand why people love me being in this game, but I'm glad that they love it, and I hope to play it one day, and I hope he does because it's great, and I hope he understands why everyone loved his character, and everyone loves this game, and everyone, you know, is seeing its praises because it deserves it. I know a lot of people at the Game Awards like, oh, you know, they need to have an award limit, but it's like, why? If it's the best of the thing, it needs to be the best of the thing. It's like, you can't be like, well, this game already won 3 awards, and this game was going to win it, but it can't, so unfortunately it's going to be given to second place. So, but that's a discussion for something else when it comes to the Game Awards. But it's like, it's a lot of accolades that it rightfully deserves. There's one that it got that I'm like, yeah, it's kind of on the fence for me personally, but it's like, I guess technically it works for that, but I digress. And how you do your combat, of course, you have your basic weapons, and then you have your abilities. You have these pictos that you can equip to be like, oh, this will let you do your shots, will have a chance to give them this kind of damage. It'll give them burn. It'll do this. It'll do that. And of course, like, well, you can only have 3 equipped, but if you master them, which is like, you know, have them through like 5 or 4 battles, then you can unequip them, and then you can equip them differently, but you just won't get like a special effect. You'll be able to do that effect, but it's like, oh, if you have this equipped, you get 500 extra HP, basically. You know, stuff along those lines. You just won't get those when you equip them like that, but you'll always get like whatever their ability is. Like, oh, this will let you go past the 9,909 damage limit for it. So all your characters get that equipped, and they can do maximum damage with like how you have them all set up. There's multiple ways to break enemies. There's multiple ways that you can, you know, just make massive damage. I've seen people making videos of like, oh, my character did over 1 billion points of damage. This game is crazy in that, and the free DLC that came out in December is great. I have not touched that yet, but like, the fact that they're like, oh yeah, here's the DLC that we told you we were working on that's free, here it is right now, which is like, what? So this game's great. The voice acting is fantastic. The story and everything about it. The funny thing is, like, it was all motion captured by 2 people, or maybe 3 people. Like, one guy did it for all the male characters, one lady did for all the female characters, and then like someone, and like a third person, or maybe this guy did as well for like all the other kind of characters. And it's great. You know, you have, like I said, the voice acting is great. You have Andy Serkis is in this game. It's just nuts. It's just has a plethora of fantastic voice actors, fantastic actors, and it all comes together beautifully. A lot of, like, you know, ex-Ubisoft developers, creators are a part of this, and they just want to create something that they themselves would enjoy and they themselves would love. They made this game because they wanted to play a game like this, and the story of how this game came together is beautiful. The way they just found this guy, the guy who did the music from SoundCloud, they found him like, hey, we have a job for you, is fantastic. Just hearing about how this game came together, how this studio came together, is such, it gives me hope for the gaming industry as a whole. That, like, yes, I know there's been lots of massive layoffs, there's been massive people being let go for one reason or another. Divisions have been closing, developers have been closing, studios have been closing. It's like this and that. But then when you have a studio like this that's like, hey, we want to do what's right for the gamers and for everyone, you make the game, the money and everything else will come with it. You just have to put in the time, the effort, the love, the care. Everything needs to all come together for this specific moment, for these kinds of games, and you will make millions. This game sold over 3.3 million within its first few months. And it's crazy how this game can just bring about the good, but it also does come with the bad, because you have a lot of purists and all this stuff, but like the good that came out with this, I feel like definitely outweighs the bad. And just the story and everything else that this game had behind it and even inside the game is great. The story does get a little bit kind of like rough in terms of like motivations for some characters later on in the game, but that's another discussion. That's a very good topic. Like the way this game has multiple endings, spoiler for that, that's the only thing I'll spoil, and the discussions that are born from those, I feel like, is what drives it. If you are in decent discussions, if you are in, hey, let's talk about this, I picked this ending, well, I picked that ending, he's like, why? It was like, well, I felt this and this. Oh, well, I felt this and this and that and that. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but like, I see where you're coming from with that, but I came with this way and I saw it that way. This game is fantastic. It is wonderful. It is all around a great game. I definitely need to get back into this game because it's fantastic. I need to platinum it one of these days. I need to just play the DLC. I need to make my characters busted so they're doing over 1 billion points of damage. And it's great, and I can't wait to keep playing this game because this game's fun. I enjoyed it so much, and that is why Clear Obscure Expedition 33 is my number 1 of my top 10 games of 2025. Well, guys, that was my top 10 games of 2025. There were a lot of games that came out this year. Some of them didn't make the list for one reason or another. That will be all talked about in my other video of my honorable mentions, coming out the day after this. So if there's a game that I didn't talk about that you're like, oh, well, why didn't you talk about this game? Didn't you play this game? Why didn't you play this game? I'll talk about it all in there. But that was my list of my top 10 games of 2025. Like I said, this is my list. No interference whatsoever. It's just my enjoyment of these games. Everything that I saw in these games, start to finish, how I felt during these games, the emotions, the thrills, the chills, the spills, everything about it. These games are great, and I really loved all these games that I played, and even some of the other games I didn't mention. There's a lot of good games that came out in 2025, and like I said, some that I didn't mention for one reason or another, but you have to watch the next video for that. And with 2026, we have some good stuff coming out pretty soon, and I can't wait to, get in there and start playing some more games, and very looking forward to some of the other stuff to come out. Maybe, finally, we'll get Kingdom Hearts 4 news. Probably, maybe, I don't know, that'd be great. Maybe Final Fantasy 7 Part 3 news. I don't know, maybe, possibly, would be great. I think we're going to get Final Fantasy 7 Part 3 news more before we get Kingdom Hearts 4 news, but I digress on that. But either way, guys, I'm very looking forward to what the future holds in gaming in 2026, and it could be another fantastic year. We've had great years recently. 2025 was great, 2024 was great, and I believe 2023 was good too. 2022 might have been good too. I think the 20s have been crazily enough, weirdly enough, have been good in terms of games, and outside of the the layoffs and all that stuff, and obviously the bad is still bad, but there's some good there too, especially when you look at games. So, but I digress. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video, and hey guys, if you liked the video, please give that like button a click. And comment down below what you like about the video. If you didn't like about the video, and let me know, guys, what were your top 3, top 5? Give me your top 10 for all I know. Hell, give me your top 25 of games of 2025. I want to know. And if you agree or disagree, you can't really disagree with my list because it's my list. There's nothing to disagree about. Maybe like, oh, hey, the reason why Clear Obscure was my number 5 was for this reason, or number 3 for that reason. Like, okay, that's understandable. And then like, well, this was my number 1 and such and such. So I totally get that. So yeah, let me know. And again, let me know what you're looking forward to in 2025 as well. In 2026, excuse me. And hey, I did a lot of these games as Let's Plays or live stream series. If you want to check them out on the gaming channel, RPG Kingdom Kid channel, is a link to that is always in the description below as well. So you can check out all the Let's Plays I did or live streams of these games, which I did a Let's Play or a live stream of all these games, honestly. So check them out. Until then, guys, take care. Have a great 2026. I'll see you guys next year for my top 10 games of 2026 and honorable mentions 2026 as well. But don't worry, there's still stuff coming around on this channel too. Till then, guys, take care. Have a great day. I'll catch you guys next time.